April 1994. A man lies in a crumbling shrine deep in the Sahara desert. He hasn't had water in 7 days. His blood has turned to sludge. His lips have split open to raw meat. He scratched his final goodbye to his wife on the stone wall. Now he drags a knife across his wrists and waits for death. But nothing. The blood won't flow. It oozes thick and dark like motor oil. His body is so dehydrated it clots instantly. He can't even succeed at dying. 1 week earlier, this man was an Olympic pentathlete racing the world's toughest foot race. Now he's trapped in a stone tomb, too weak to live, too stubborn to die. But here's what makes this insane. He's about to walk out of that desert. 291 kilometers off course, 9 days without real water, 40 pounds lighter and alive. What breaks an Olympian so completely he tries to end it all? And how did his own body betray him into surviving? April 10th, 1994. Mauro Prosperi pins race number 123 to his chest and joins 133 other ultramarathon runners at the starting line of the Marathon des Sables. The name translates to Marathon of the Sands, but that undersells it dramatically. This is 251 kilometers across the Sahara in 6 days, the equivalent of running 6 back-to-back marathons through terrain that wants you dead. Runners carry their own food, sleeping bags, and survival gear in backpacks weighing at least 6.5 kilograms. The race organization provides only water and basic tents. Daytime temperatures regularly exceed 50 degrees Celsius. 3 runners have already died in previous editions of this race. Mauro is not worried. At 39 years old, he's a former Olympic pentathlete who competed for Italy in the 1984 Los Angeles Games, finishing 7th in modern pentathlon, a grueling event combining fencing, swimming, equestrian show jumping, pistol shooting, and cross-country running. He spent 20 years as a police officer in Sicily, trained to function under pressure and make decisions when lives hung in the balance. For this race, he pushed his preparation to extremes no coach would recommend, deliberately dehydrating himself during training runs in the Italian hills to condition his body for water scarcity. He practiced being thirsty. He practiced ignoring the signals his brain sent screaming for hydration. His goal is simple: finish in the top 3. By day 3, April 13th, Mauro sits in 4th place overall, trailing the leaders by less than 20 minutes. The sun hammers down at 46 degrees Celsius, hot enough to cook an egg on the sand, hot enough to kill an unacclimated person within hours. His legs burn but respond. His water discipline is perfect. Small sips from his flask every 20 minutes, never gulping, never indulging. Other runners stumble and fade around him, their bodies surrendering to the furnace. Mauro passes them one by one. He's executing his race plan exactly as designed. Mid-afternoon on day 4, the wind changes. First a whisper across the dune crests, then a moan that makes runners look up from their plodding feet, then a roar that drowns out everything else. Sand begins moving horizontally across the desert floor, stinging exposed ankles and calves. Within 15 minutes, a wall of yellow-brown dust blots out the sun entirely. Visibility drops from kilometers to meters to arm's length. Race officials had warned the runners, if a sandstorm hits, stop immediately, cover your face with cloth, crouch behind any available windbreak, and wait. Standard desert survival protocol. That's what most competitors do. They hunker behind rocks, pull shirts over their mouths, and let the storm pass. Mauro does the opposite. He keeps running. In the chaos of screaming wind and flying grit that tears at his skin like sandpaper, he presses forward blind. His logic is the logic of a competitor, not a survivalist. He's in 4th place with the leaders in sight, and stopping means surrender. He'll push through the storm, maintain his position, and emerge ahead of everyone who chose safety. Every minute the others wait is a minute he gains. The decision makes perfect sense from a racing perspective. From a survival perspective, it's the choice that will nearly kill him. The sandstorm rages for 8 hours. 8 hours of midnight darkness at midday, of sand forcing its way into nostrils and eyes despite every barrier, of breathing through fabric that grows heavier with each gasp. Mauro runs until his legs give out, then walks, then stumbles forward with his arms outstretched like a blind man. When the wind finally dies around 10 p.m., he collapses onto a dune and gulps clear air for what feels like the first time in his life. Then he looks around. Every landmark has vanished. The storm reshaped the terrain completely. Dunes that stood 20 meters high have been flattened into broad plains, while entirely new ridges have risen from nothing. The trail markers, reflective posts hammered into the sand every 500 meters to guide runners between checkpoints, are buried or blown away. No other runners anywhere. No checkpoint lights flickering on the horizon. No helicopter sounds overhead. Just silence and stars and an ocean of sand stretching to every horizon. Mauro climbs the tallest dune he can find, his legs screaming in protest, and scans 360 degrees. Nothing human. He fires his emergency flare and watches the red streak arc into the blackness, a tiny spark against infinite dark. No response. No answering flares. Now he has only one flare remaining. By midnight, the temperature drops from furnace heat to near freezing, the Sahara's cruel trick of baking you by day and freezing you by night. Mauro wraps himself in his emergency blanket and waits for dawn. He's certain rescue helicopters will find him in the morning. Dawn arrives in a blaze of orange and gold. The helicopters don't. Mauro checks his supplies, half a liter of water, a compass, one remaining flare, 2 protein bars totaling maybe 400 calories, a pocket knife and his emergency blanket. His GPS locator, standard race equipment, shows no signal. Dead from sand damage. The sun climbs and the temperature rockets past 40 degrees within an hour. Mauro finally admits what his Olympic training never prepared him for. He isn't just off course. He's lost in 9 million square kilometers of the most hostile terrain on Earth, and no one knows where he is. How long can even an Olympic athlete survive with half a liter of water and 2 protein bars? And what will he be willing to do when those run out? April 15th, day 5. Mauro wakes to a sun that feels like a physical weight pressing him into the sand. His water bottle has been empty since noon yesterday, 18 hours without a single drop. His tongue has swollen so large it barely fits in his mouth, pressing against his teeth like a foreign object. His throat has constricted to a raw, sticky tube that refuses to swallow because there's nothing left to push down. He walks north by compass, reasoning that the race route ran roughly west to east through southern Morocco, so heading north should eventually intersect rescue parties sweeping the search zone. But north in the Sahara is a concept without landmarks. The dunes look identical in every direction, golden waves frozen mid-ripple, repeating endlessly. The terrain shimmers with heat mirages that conjure lakes, palm groves, entire villages, all dissolving when Mauro staggers toward them. By mid-morning, the hallucinations bleed into reality. He sees his wife Cinzia standing on a dune crest, waving him forward. He sees a marble fountain bubbling in a courtyard. He sees his own body lying dead in the sand while he watches from somewhere above. Around noon, Mauro collapses in the thin shadow of a boulder. His body has entered crisis mode. Without water, his kidneys are failing. His blood is thickening into something closer to syrup than liquid, and his brain is starting to cook inside his skull, a condition called hyperthermia that kills by scrambling the very organ you need to save yourself. Standard survival training says, stay put and conserve energy. Rescuers will find you. But Mauro knows the math. His half-liter of water lasted 12 hours. He has nothing left. Staying put means dying in this exact spot. A memory surfaces. His grandfather, a veteran of the Italian Army's North African campaign in World War II, describing how soldiers survived when their water ran out in the Libyan desert. They drank what their bodies still produced. Mauro had dismissed this as war mythology. Now, with his vision tunneling and his heartbeat skipping irregularly, he reconsiders. He finds an empty plastic bottle and produces a few tablespoons of urine. The liquid is dark amber, almost brown. Concentrated waste his kidneys have wrung from his dehydrated tissues, toxic with urea and salts. This is a line humans aren't supposed to cross. Drinking urine accelerates dehydration in the long run because the salt and waste products force your kidneys to work harder. Every survival manual warns against it, but every survival manual assumes rescue within 72 hours. Mauro has no such guarantee. He raises the bottle and drinks. The taste hits like a punch, hot, bitter, metallic, fundamentally wrong. His stomach heaves, but he forces the liquid down. For a few minutes, nothing happens. Then a small spark of energy flickers in his chest. It's not real hydration. It's his body detecting any liquid at all and responding with desperate gratitude. As the sun descends toward the western horizon, painting the dunes in shades of orange and blood red, Mauro spots something that doesn't shimmer or dissolve. A dark shape, angular and solid, maybe 2 kilometers distant. A structure, a building. He blinks hard, certain it will vanish. It doesn't. It sits there, solid and real. Where there's a building, there might be water. There might be people. There might be survival. Mauro forces himself upright on legs that feel like they belong to a stranger. His feet are blistered raw. But he starts moving toward that shape on the horizon, mind fixed on one thought: reach it before dark. What he doesn't know is that the structure ahead isn't a rescue station or a village well. It's something far stranger, and what he'll find inside will force him to cross a line even more disturbing than drinking his own urine. Night has fallen by the time Mauro reaches the structure. Up close, it's smaller and older than he hoped. A squat stone building about 4 meters square, half swallowed by drifting sand. A marabout, an Islamic shrine built centuries ago to honor a holy man who died in this forsaken place. No lights inside, no sounds of habitation. Mauro's heart sinks, but shelter is shelter, and the desert night is already dropping toward freezing. He ducks through the low doorway. The interior is a single room with a domed ceiling, bare except for a stone sarcophagus in the center containing the saint's bones. The air smells of dust and something else. Ammonia, sharp and biological. As Mauro's eyes adjust to the darkness, he notices the ceiling. It's moving. Hundreds of black shapes cling to the stone dome, shifting and rustling. Bats, a colony of desert bats, roosting in the shrine's cool interior. Mauro's survival instinct doesn't hesitate. Bats mean blood. Blood means liquid. His body has gone more than 36 hours without meaningful hydration. Another day and his organs will begin shutting down permanently. He moves slowly, positioning himself beneath the densest cluster. Then, with reflexes honed by decades of athletic training, he snatches a bat from the ceiling. The colony explodes into chaos, hundreds of wings beating against stone, high-pitched shrieks echoing off the dome. Mauro ignores them. He grips the bat firmly, feeling its tiny heart racing against his palm, and snaps its neck with a quick twist. Using his pocket knife, he severs the head and presses the small body to his cracked lips. Warm blood, maybe a tablespoon's worth, drips onto his tongue. It tastes like copper coins and salt. It tastes like staying alive. Over the next hour, Mauro catches and kills more than a dozen bats. He drains their blood, tilting each small body to extract every drop, then eats their raw flesh for whatever moisture remains. The meat is stringy, gamey, wrong in every way his civilized brain can measure. He doesn't care. He's operating on something deeper than preference now. By the time the surviving bats have fled into the night, Mauro is covered in blood and fur, but his body has absorbed enough liquid to keep functioning. He curls up on the stone floor and passes out. April 16th, day 6. Mauro climbs to the shrine's flat roof to survey his situation. The desert stretches unbroken in every direction. No roads, no settlements, no vegetation. The emptiness is so complete it feels like standing on another planet. He's about to climb down when a sound reaches his ears. The distant thump of helicopter rotors. His heart nearly stops, then races. Rescue! He spots the aircraft, a tiny dark shape moving along the horizon, maybe 3 kilometers away. Mauro waves his arms frantically, screaming through his ruined throat. He fumbles for his remaining flare and fires into the sky. A red streak arcs upward, trailing smoke against the brilliant blue. The helicopter continues on its path. It doesn't turn. It doesn't circle. For one agonizing moment, it seems to pause, then banks away and disappears over the dunes. The flare's smoke dissipates into empty air. Mauro stands on the roof, arm still raised, flare gun empty. His last signal is gone. The only humans within 100 kilometers have flown past without seeing him. He climbs down in a daze, returns to the shrine's interior, and sits against the wall. Something breaks inside him. Not physically, his body is already breaking, but mentally. The iron will that carried him through Olympic training, through 20 years of police work, through 4 days of hell, finally cracks. The shrine isn't shelter, it's a tomb. He's going to die here, and his family will never know what happened. His wife will spend years wondering. His children will grow up with a father who simply vanished. Unless Mauro takes control of the one thing still within his power, the manner and timing of his own death. What pushes a man who survived sandstorms and bat blood and his own urine to pick up a knife and cut open his wrists? And can anything pull him back from that edge? April 20th, Day 10. Mauro Prosperi has not eaten anything but insects and raw lizard meat in 3 days. The bat blood is long metabolized. His body has consumed most of its fat reserves and begun breaking down muscle for energy. His heart beats irregularly, too weak to maintain proper rhythm. His skin has darkened and cracked to the color of old leather. He weighs roughly 16 kilograms less than when he started the race. In the dim light of the shrine, he finds a piece of charcoal and begins writing on the wall. The message is for Cinzia, for the children, for whoever eventually discovers this place. He explains that he tried everything. He apologizes for not being stronger. He tells them where to find his will and insurance documents. The writing takes an hour because his hand keeps cramping and his vision blurring. When the message is complete, Mauro pulls out his pocket knife. He's made peace with this decision. Better a quick death than more days of agony followed by the same end. His family deserves closure. He decides to end it. There's nothing left, no water, no hope, no rescue coming. He takes the blade to his wrists, cutting deep, expecting the release of blood, expecting his body to finally surrender. But something is wrong. The blood that emerges is dark, thick, almost tar-like. It doesn't pour. It barely moves. He cuts again, desperate now, but the wounds begin closing almost as fast as he makes them. His blood has thickened into sludge, so dehydrated it clots on contact with air, sealing shut before it can drain. Mauro stares at his wrists in disbelief. His body has betrayed him in the cruelest way possible. He is too dehydrated to bleed, too broken to die. The desert has taken everything from him, and now it won't even grant him the mercy of death. He is trapped inside a body that refuses to let go, forced to keep suffering whether he wants to or not. He slumps against the wall, chest heaving with something between laughter and sobs. The absurdity crashes over him. He tried to end everything and his body said no. Then a thought surfaces, rising through the despair. If his body refuses to die, maybe that's the message. Maybe survival isn't about waiting for rescue that will never come. Maybe it's about walking until the desert kills him or he walks out of it. At least then, if he dies moving forward. Mauro tears strips from his shirt and binds his wrists. He gathers his knife, compass, empty bottle. At dawn on day 11, he steps out of the shrine for the last time. To the east, beyond the heat shimmer, he spots a faint line of brown, mountains. Mountains mean elevation. Elevation means potential water, potential people. He sets his compass bearing and starts walking. His legs feel like they belong to a corpse. Each step requires conscious effort. Lift, swing, plant, repeat. But he's moving. He's not waiting to die in a tomb. What Mauro doesn't know is that he's been walking the wrong direction, not toward Morocco and rescue, but deeper into Algeria. And the mountains he's aiming for are still over 100 kilometers away. Day 11. Mauro moves at dawn and dusk, collapsing into whatever shade he can find during the midday hours when the sun becomes actively lethal. His body has entered a state beyond exhaustion. Each step requires a conscious decision, a deliberate command from brain to muscle. His diet consists of beetles snatched from beneath rocks, small lizards caught by hand, and the occasional desert plant he recognizes as non-toxic from survival training. Everything goes down raw. He stopped feeling disgust days ago. His body accepts anything with moisture content as a gift. On the morning of day 12, April 22nd, he sees green. Actual vegetation, palm trees and scrub brush clustered around a depression in the sand ahead. His brain has shown him so many mirages over the past week that he doesn't trust his eyes anymore. But these trees don't shimmer or dissolve when he blinks. They stay solid as he stumbles closer, gaining definition instead of fading into the heat waves. An oasis, small, brackish, surrounded by cracked mud where the water level has dropped, but real. Mauro falls to his knees at the water's edge and plunges his face into the brown pool. Immediately, his throat spasms, rebelling against the sudden rush of liquid after so many days of nothing. He chokes, gags, vomits up the precious water his body desperately needs, forcing himself to slow down despite every instinct screaming at him to drink. He takes tiny sips, waiting between each one for his swollen tissues to accept the hydration. It takes 20 agonizing minutes to drink a liter without throwing it up. He lies on his back in the shade of a palm tree, feeling water work its way into his shriveled cells for the first time in 9 days. Something other than agony finally registers. Relief. Hope. He fills his empty bottle with murky oasis water, knowing it might make him sick but not caring, and continues east. That afternoon, he notices something in the sand that makes his heart skip. Goat droppings. Fresh, not more than a few hours old. Goats mean herders. Herders mean people. He follows the tracks over a rise, legs trembling with the effort, and hears the most beautiful sound of his life: bleating. In a shallow basin below, a small herd of goats mills around sparse vegetation. Among them stands a young Tuareg girl in a blue dress, maybe 10 years old, tending the flock with a long stick. Mauro tries to call out, to explain himself, to beg for help. Only a harsh croak emerges from his ruined throat. He waves his arms weakly and stumbles down the dune toward her. The girl takes one look at this sun-blackened skeleton lurching out of the empty desert, a nightmare figure barely recognizable as human, covered in dried blood and filth, skin cracked and darkened, and screams. She drops the goat's tether and sprints away, sand spraying under her feet, disappearing over the nearest ridge in seconds. Mauro collapses where she stood, too weak to follow, too weak to do anything but kneel in the sand and pray she brings help instead of running forever. Minutes pass. The sun beats down. Mauro's consciousness begins to slip, gray static creeping into the edges of his vision. Then voices carry over the dune, adult voices, speaking rapidly in a language he doesn't understand. The girl reappears with several adults, Tuareg nomads, the legendary blue people of the Sahara named for the indigo dye of their robes. Turbaned men carry rifles and approach cautiously. Women follow with waterskins and blankets. They clearly don't know what to make of this apparition. Mauro summons the last of his strength and rasps one word: aqua. Water. A woman kneels beside him and dribbles cool water onto his cracked lips, then mint tea, warm and impossibly sweet. The men lift him gently onto a blanket. Through blurred vision, Mauro sees their faces shift from suspicion to wonder as they realize what they've found: a living man who walked out of the deep desert where no one survives. The nomads transport Mauro by camel to the nearest settlement, a journey of several hours through terrain he could never have crossed alone. Algerian authorities take custody of him there. At first, police are deeply suspicious. No one survives 9 days in the deep Sahara alone, and this skeletal stranger's story sounds like the ravings of a madman or the cover story of a smuggler. Only when Mauro produces his Marathon de Sables race tag, still pinned to what remains of his shirt, and gasps out his full name and nationality, do they grasp the truth. The missing Italian runner has returned from the dead. He's airlifted to a military hospital in Tindouf. Doctors find his kidneys functioning at just 15% capacity, his liver showing signs of acute damage, his heart rhythm dangerously erratic. He's lost 18 kilograms, roughly 40 pounds, from a frame that wasn't carrying excess weight to begin with. Calculated against his wandering path, he traveled approximately 291 kilometers off course, crossing the international border from Morocco into Algeria without ever knowing it, averaging 32 kilometers per day across terrain that should have killed any human being within 72 hours. When Mauro finally phones his wife from the hospital bed, Cinzia breaks down sobbing before he can finish saying her name. The Marathon des Sables organization had officially declared him dead on day 5 after search helicopters found no trace of him. His family had already begun planning a memorial service. His children had been told their father wasn't coming home. Against every survival statistic, against the established biological limits of human endurance, against his own deliberate attempt to end it all with a knife in a forgotten shrine, Mauro Prosperi walked out of the Sahara Desert alive. Not because rescue found him, it never did. Not because luck intervened, he made his own luck, one agonizing step at a time. Because when his body refused to die, he refused to stop moving. Mauro's story is one of the most extreme documented cases of human survival. But it's not the only time someone pushed past the point where death seemed certain and somehow came back. If you want to see what happens when a climber gets trapped with his arm crushed under a boulder and makes a decision most people can't imagine, watch the video about Aaron Ralston next.